Thank you, Mr. Chair. General Breedlove, thank you very much for your years of admirable service. I know I appreciate it, all the members of this panel appreciate it, and of course, all of the folks across the country appreciate it as well. In your written testimony, you say the capabilities available for EUCOM force protection are not keeping pace with the number of at-risk locations and people and the magnitude of the threats they face. You did state that there is a growing mission and we're being stretched very thin. So as much as you can in this open setting, could you provide us with greater insight into the risks you are assuming due to a lack of force protection capabilities? I know you touched upon military intelligence, and maybe we need a better understanding of its role in EUCOM, if you could expand on that. And then also specifically, what sort of capabilities do you need to enhance force protection in Europe, not only for our service members, but for those families that are stationed there as well?
Ma'am, if you could allow me to hit some generalities, and again, I would offer for my staff to come speak specifics to you. I don't think they would be appropriate here to talk about our vulnerabilities so that
yes, thank you.
Our opponents could hear those. But let me assure you first and foremost that the force protection of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines and their families and those who support us, like civilian entities like DODS and other things that out there, our teachers and others that are employed. These are a keen interest to us as commanders, and we work this issue every day. And to the point that you mentioned, which I think is very salient for today's discussion, our ability to have the authorities and the capabilities to share widely with our partners and our allies it is very important, and we do this every day. And as you know, some of our relationships are better than others, but part of our requirement is to understand what's going on the ground, and normally our allies and partners know that better than we do. So key to our ability is that ability to share these things that we can bring to the table with the things they can bring to the table, to put together a holistic picture, to be able then to make the adjustments that we need to make. And I would tell you that we are working that aggressively all the time. And if I could, I would save the rest for a staff-to-staff discussion.
Absolutely. It is imperative that we do assume certain risks, but there are risks that you should not have to assume. And so I would appreciate additional feedback on that. Sir, how will the Syrian ceasefire affect Russia's intervention into Syria? And specifically, what impact will it have in your area of operations with respect to Russia's activities in Ukraine, Crimea, Georgia, the Baltics, and of course elsewhere in Europe? And I know we have mentioned the migrant flow, but if you could just visit a little bit more about those specific areas, please.
Ma'am, as I stated before, I think it's important, or at least I can say that any credible and real, genuine approach to bringing a ceasefire that respects and addresses the needs of the Syrian people, I think will be welcome, and we would support that. What we see in the mechanization of the ceasefire so far, we need to watch and see how it works. We see continuing activity that is ostensibly aimed at the Daesh and al-Nusra and other named terrorist fronts. So I think that the real effect of what's happening now, again, we support it if it's genuine and authentic, but we need to watch it. I've said before that the actions will speak louder than the words, and we're really early now. We need to see how those actions bear out.
Great. And I am running out of time, but very briefly, a number of these places that I just mentioned, Ukraine and so forth, we do have through the National Guard our state partnership programs. Yes or no, do you support those programs?
Ma'am, they really represent almost 24% of my outreach to other nations, and they are, in some cases, our very best tool for developing partnership capacity in our nations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.